Hi, welcome to the Honey and Harry Show. I'm Honey.
And I'm Harry in the producer chair tonight.
And tonight we have a guest. It's actually a family friend of ours. And I always thought y'all were related to us for some reason. I just thought I know Duty thought you were his uncle. But anyways, it's Kevin Kimball. And I think pretty much everybody in Baton Rouge knows Kevin Kimball. I feel like they do, at least. Everybody I talk to knows you.
Well, I've been feeding people in this town for over 30 years.
Over 30 years.
Yeah.
That's why. So if you've gone out to eat, and to a good restaurant, you've probably met Kevin. So anyways, today we're going to kind of find out how you got started in the business, all the different restaurants that you've managed, and also talk about how you were, I guess the managers were gifted restaurants. Am I saying that right? I don't want to.
That's correct.
Right, yeah, gifted restaurants by Wayne Stabiler, which is completely generous.
Unheard of.
It's very unheard of. But and how deserving. I mean, y'all work so hard. I know the managers work so hard at the restaurants. But anyways, so why don't you just give us a little background of kind of how you. I'm interested in how you got started in the business.
Wow, there's a big old long story in there.
Tell us. We want to know. I'm so interested because it seems like it would be hard.
My first mentor really was Gino Marino and his mother, Mama Marino. That woman was a saint on this earth, and they gave me a chance. I started bussing tables at Gino's in 1988.
How old were you?
Oh, I was in college.
You were in college? So, okay, so young.
I went behind the bar and taught myself how to bartend because he was a little short-handed. And when the opportunity came up to need a bartender, I had already been in there and trained myself, so it was logical.
Yes.
So they moved me to the bar, and then they were all family-operated, which they still are, obviously. And I ended up getting in there and bringing another bartender and going into management and helping Mama Marino. And I learned a lot from her. And then other mentors all along the way. I mean, I've been so fortunate. I left their employ and I went to work with TJ Moran, which is a whole other segment of my life. And
I remember that, though. I do remember that. Okay.
I learned just a lot from TJ, opening up Highland House and running Ruth Chris with Tommy Mansour. Learned a ton. He was the epitome of a maitre d' at the time in Baton Rouge. And so I learned a lot from Tommy, TJ, a lot of the business there. Went to Tom Tanner, gave me a nice break. We went into the Camelot Club, got to do some of that business for a good while.
I forgot about the Camelot Club. Was that the upstairs at the top?
Top of the bank building,
yes.
yeah.
That's closed now, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
Mike Wampold bought that building and turned it into some condos up there and whatnot. And I didn't think it could happen until somebody told me Mike Wampold was doing it. And I said, well, of course, Mike can make that happen.
I used to love the Camelot Club.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great place
it really
to have an event. It was beautiful.
Yes.
You could not replicate the sunset and the view. It was 21st floor of that bank building.
It was amazing.
It was great. And that was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
And I was there. I turned 40 years old. I'll never forget. And I sat back and I looked at my wife and I said, this is a great retirement job, but I'm 40. If I'm going to get back out there and really earn more of a living for my family and the kids, now's the time to do it. I had time at the Camelot to go play dad.
Okay. But that was good.
I coached soccer for a while. I couldn't spell soccer. Right? They had to show me how to kick the ball. And now I'm teaching these kids. And so the time at the Camelot Club was exceptional for me personally, even though it took me a little bit out of the restaurant light. It was 10 years I spent there. That let me play dad. It really did. And then when I turned 40, I was like, you know what? I need to get back into the business. It's time to show the kids now that they need to work hard. They need to see.
Absolutely.
They need to see hard work. And so I went back in. I got back in with TJ Moran's son, Burke, and I went in with him at the TJ Ribs and Nympha's that at the time, which is now
Okay,
Tila
Memphis.
Hobbies. Yeah,
I love Memphis.
and then that didn't work out. There's a reason that people say sometimes good friends don't make good business partners. It was a situation, and we parted ways while we could stay friends, because
That's the best way to do it.
it was the best move in the whole world
Yep.
for all of us. And
Absolutely.
I still wish Burke the best. We're friends today. We talk about things all the time here and there, and it was important to both of us to keep that way. And so then I fell in with Wayne Stabiler, who had,
With Wayne.
The rest is history. He totally changed my life.
So Wayne, what I remember, so Lindsay was friends with Candace, his daughter.
right.
And what I always remembered was it was the crawfish.
Yeah.
Back like way back when. And I don't know if he had, at that time, he just had I think it was Wayne Stabiler's, I don't know if it was just maybe his crawfish things.
He started off.
Is that how we started? or-
Yeah, well, yeah, he did. He started off, even before the crawfish, he would go down to the docks. I mean, he's such a hustler, He's
Really?
always moving.
Yeah.
He's the Energizer Bunny. I don't know where the energy comes from. He never stops. And he was so driven. There's a lot of, Wayne's a coach, and his dad was a coach. So if you think about the coaches in your life,
Yep.
then Wayne's a lot more easy to understand when you think of him that way. He's driven, he's competitive, he wants to win, and he wants to make the people around him better. He wants to
That's amazing.
rise everybody up, if you will, and get them to where the team can make it across the goal line. And that's the easiest way that I can describe him. So he started off going down to the coast and buying fish and
Really?
and oysters and whatnot off the boats and running them up to Baton Rouge and selling them to the restaurants and the markets and whatnot. And then at the same time, he was running into doing crawfish boils, and he had a couple of breaks with some people in town, and the crawfish boil thing started to kind of be his niche.
Yeah, because I remember
yeah.
everybody wanted his crawfish.
Still to this day, we have Sammy's Grill on Highland, and
Yes.
we opened another Sammy's in Prairieville on Perkins Road, and it's his recipe.
Really? It's still-
Oh, absolutely! It's the best crawfish you can get your hands on.
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if we're going to go get crawfish, I always tell Troy, take me to Sammy's. That's what
And I
like.
don't say that because of me, because I
No.
don't touch the crawfish.
Really? No, but I'm saying that because that's where we go, really.
Right.
Like, and you can get like 3 pounds or 5 pounds, and I usually get the 3,
Yeah.
and it's always good. It's consistent good with the crawfish. So, definitely. So, what restaurant did he open, like, I guess, first? Like, when,
you
from
know-
the crawfish, did he take over Sammy's right away?
I do remember. I don't remember all of his restaurant history because he started when I was just getting into college.
Oh, wow.
I
okay.
do know that he
Okay.
opened Stabiler's Tavern, was one of his first.
Okay.
And the reason I know that is because my wife, Trish, was his bartender there.
Oh,
That was
wow.
how Wayne and I ended up knowing each other.
That's
it was
so
really
cool.
through my wife. She worked for him for a number of years,
Okay.
and always thought the world of Wayne and Lucy. And
Okay.
they were high school sweethearts and been together for their the entirety of their lives at this point. And so Trish had nothing. I mean, she thought he hung the moon. He was just a great person and a great friend to her. And that was our intro, I guess. So Established Tavern was, I assume, one of his first spots. He had the little place off of Perkins for years that I know of that everybody went to pick up po' boys and crawfish
Yeah.
and whatnot. It was a little bit past Segan.
I know what you're talking about. I remember that. I don't know. Yeah, I do. I remember that.
And then he started getting into more of the restaurant business world. And the little village, I'd say the little village downtown was probably his oldest existing place now.
Really? So is that when you started working? How did you work? Because I know you said you were at the Camelot Club. How did y'all kind of get together and you start working for him?
Well, when I left TJ Ribs, and I had been, I don't know, I had been putting in a lot of hours, right? And so when I left there, I said, you know what? I'm going to take about 3 months. I've never been without a job since I went to LSU. My first semester at LSU, I got a job, and I have never been without a job since then. I guess it's a work ethic that I learned from my mom and my dad, and on through the genes and the family. But I just sat back and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take 3 months, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go to Orange Beach with my oldest son for his baseball tournaments.
Good,
and we're going to go stay for 3 days, and we're going to go play. I'm going to be a regular dad. And I'm going to just take a breath and wait. So that was my plan. The day that I left TJ Ribs, at 9 o'clock the next morning, I had a phone call from a lady who now I know ran Wayne's businesses. Her name was Layla Britos. And phone call wasn't real clear, and all I could make out of the conversation was Wayne Stabiler, and so I didn't know what that was about, and so I sat back, and then the next day I was like, I got another call from her, and I heard Wayne's name again, so I called Wayne, and I said, Wayne, do you have a lady, Britos, something? I can barely understand what she's saying. Does she work for you? And he said, yeah, I told her to call you. So I knew then, well, two things I knew then.
Yeah.
Number one, I knew that Wayne knew that I was going to be available to do something. And that was very flattering.
Yeah,
that he would
heard
reach
quick.
out so fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And number two, it also told me that Wayne trusts this person, Layla Britos, to have her call me, so she's the person I have to deal with. Right?
Absolutely.
And so I called her and I talked to Wayne. He said, look, he gave me a time frame. It was August 2nd. He said, August 2nd. I'll be ready to go in August 2nd. He said, okay, good. Meet me in my office August 2nd. And then and I walked in and told him, he said, what do you want to do? I said, I just want to enjoy doing what I have been doing all these years. And I want to raise my family comfortably, and I want a good, honest living with somebody I trust. That's what I've done my whole life, and that was it. We opened Stabs in Central.
So that was the first one in Central.
First one I was involved with him.
With
He had
him.
the two little villages were already there.
Okay.
And my current partner now at the little villages is Hugh Freeze. And Hugh had already been at least 4 or 5 years working with Layla and Wayne at the little villages. And so Wayne was already on his way to opening Stabs in Central. I came in right before we opened, and that was it. So I don't know, 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago.
And then the Stabs was in like that, then it came to Baton Rouge, so it was in Central first.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. It was a smaller market. It was not a market that Wayne wanted to do a steakhouse. He wanted to do a steakhouse. Mm-hmm. The opportunity there, Steve Rabelais was his partner. He was the builder, and he had built this place and was going to do it on his own. And like what happens with a lot of people that want to get into the restaurant business, once they get right close to getting in, they're like, oh, wait a minute. Somebody needs to get in here that knows what's going on, because it's not any harder than anything else. You just need to have a feel for things and have a little experience there, or it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So Steve reached out to Wayne, and Wayne said, hey, you know what? Let's give it a run. Well, with a smaller market, no one expected that restaurant was going to make it. No one.
Really?
When I tell you, we opened that restaurant, and the chatter, the talking heads, the chatter, all the social media, what do they call them, the keyboard experts? Everybody everywhere said, what's he doing? 6 months. I give him 6 months. It's never going to make it. You're not going to go to a fine dining restaurant in a small market like Central. Not going to happen. It's been 12 years now. So it was fantastic. The community there was so overwhelmingly appreciative that someone would come in with that caliber of a restaurant And my partner out there is David Ryan. Now, David was on our service staff when we opened that restaurant, and now he's been the GM for a good while there. It's a natural, and now he's owns half of it.
Wow!
So that was a good story. Good stuff.
Well, Duty's wife is from Central, and I know her parents eat there.
Yeah.
I think sometimes
It's a great spot.
they love it. Yeah, absolutely.
33 years I've been in this business, and I've been around a lot of different properties. That restaurant in Central, it looks like, I tell everybody all the time, it looks like somebody took a big piece of machinery and just dug this restaurant out of the ground on St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans.
Really?
And just dropped it across the street from the old ballpark.
Gosh.
I mean, it's beautiful.
I've never been.
It is the most charming restaurant I think I have ever been a part of. And I think that's the right word, charm. It's just, Steve did a great job with his vision of what he was doing. It was a blessing that he wasn't in the restaurant business. Because you go inside, there's a sweeping staircase off to the left, which everybody in the restaurant business would say, you don't want to carry trays up the stairs. So, big, beautiful chandelier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a great spot out there, and that's a nice little deal.
I'm gonna have to go because I haven't been to either one. Not a big meat eater, but
Well, it's steak and seafood.
Seafood. So I need to go.
Yeah.
I never think.
You didn't hear about the crab cake?
No, that's my favorite. I didn't know. I thought it was just a steak. I see how silly. I don't even know. But yeah, I just thought it was a big steakhouse. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
I hated the steak and seafood moniker, right? Growing up in a small town, I'm from New Roads.
Yeah.
And it seems like anybody and everybody that wasn't sure of their identity just says steak and seafood. That kind of seems like smaller market stuff and whatnot. And I get it. I get it. You have to have enough for your entire market. But I never really liked it. And when we were doing stabs, and it was stab, steak, and seafood, and I said, man, I just don't. Is there something else we can do? Stab, steakhouse, stab. And of course, it's Stabs.
It's just
because
Stabs.
it's Wayne Stabiler.
Yeah.
Right? That's
absolutely.
his nickname was Stabs. Stabby,
Okay.
that was his nickname growing up, so clear all that up, right? But there's more seafood items than there are steak items.
And
so it had to say that.
I thought it was just steak. I'm so silly. I know because I didn't see seafood, written on it.
People ask me all the time, is it Stabs or Stops?
Stops.
And I was like, is it Target or Target? It really doesn't matter how you pronounce it as long as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're so good with people. That's why you're good at do this, because I know even like anytime we have friends, Troy will call you, and you're just so good with people. You just you do. And I mean, my parents I think for their anniversary even took care of it, right, Dad?
We did.
Yeah, I mean, you gave them the royal treatment, so you're really good at that. So tell us a little bit about Sammy's in Prairieville. Because I live in Prairieville, so I'm just super excited that we have a Sammy's there.
Sammy's, when we were in college, Wayne and I both were in college, and Sammy's opened on Highland, and it was that little bitty place that is still the front section bar of the Highland location.
That's where we used to go all the time.
I'm going to tell you, twice a week it was, a grilled chicken club and 3 Bud Lights for me. Maybe more than 3. But that was it. We were there all the time. And so Wayne had an affinity for that as well, and when that brand went through the trouble that it went through and ended up closing down, and it was a pretty rough struggle for them towards the end of things for 4 or 5 years. It was a struggle from what I could gather, and Wayne was like, I don't think Baton Rouge needs to lose the Sammy's brand. He's had a soft spot. He's very loyal. He's an incredibly loyal person and very grounded. And he's very community oriented. And he did not want Sammy's in Baton Rouge to go away.
I love that.
So, he made an arrangement to take over the name And then he called and made arrangements to go to the original location and basically reopened that spot. And I'd never forget, I was sitting in that building doing interviews in early part of 2020, I guess, when the governor shut down the entire state.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the end of 19, early 20. It was in that
2020,
area.
yeah.
Whenever the state closed all the businesses down, right? That's where we were. And so
It's crazy.
we were like, it's going to be a challenge anyway, because to take a brand that's got 30 years worth of history, good and bad, and resurrect it is almost more difficult than starting a brand new brand. I think it is. So
No, because everybody compares.
well, people remember their last settings and they lose track of time.
They do.
Back at the Camelot Club, I remember when we took that over. It was 2000 when I started there, and I met one lady one time, and she was like, "Oh, the Camelot Club, I don't go there." They really it was brutal. My son's rehearsal dinner, it was terrible.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Well, yeah, really? When was that?" Oh, 1989. And I'm like, so I mean that's what you fight. You fight. People's
100%.
last experiences are really strong.
They are. They are. No, you're right.
And people forget they have their own lives. They can't keep up with who's doing what here and there. Mm-hmm. Family, kids, work. Everybody's got enough on their plate. They don't want to think about that stuff.
No. Yeah.
So it was a tough thing to do, to go resurrect that brand, I thought, and Wayne thought. We all knew. We had some good guys in there, some good partners. Joey Fassian, who's our partner there now, and he was running Highland. Now he's opened up Perkins for us. And the Perkins Road location is a smaller location. And now that Wayne has gifted all of us the restaurants, there's 6 of us total that are partners in Sammy's. We all believe that the Sammy's model should be what it is now in Prairieville at Perkins. A smaller footprint. It's meant to be a neighborhood joint. Sammy's Grill, it's a neighborhood joint. It's not a 200-seat restaurant, to go. It's just not. And so that's what we're looking forward to growing.
It's quite. No, and I do agree with you with that, because I think the old Sammy's that was in Prairieville, that was humongous. It was too big.
Big place. Beautiful place. Took a lot to get that going.
100%.
The guys at Mike Anderson's picked that up. They've done a great job with that.
They've done well. They've done very well with that.
It's just not something we wanted to do. We want the smaller footprint. We want to revitalize the brand as what we believe the brand should be.
Perfect.
And all of our partners that are there. Shanna Rayburn's been a Sammy's person forever and ever. She's at Highland for us now, and Fritz Carville and Dondi McNulty and Jeremy Weber. It's all of us that are in this thing together, and pretty cohesive group. And all of us worked for Wayne. It was part of that gift.
So tell us. That's what I really wanted to ask you. Tell us how all that kind of happened, because that is something like you don't ever hear. No one. You don't hear people just gifting anything anymore, which is sad.
No.
And so generous, so kind. I mean, just tell us how all that happened, because it's something that you don't hear.
A lot of not a lot. Yeah. A lot of Wayne and Lucy's close friends. It was not a shock to them. It was a shock to everybody else.
Wow.
But they don't get out in front of things a lot. A lot of the things that we did philanthropically, that Wayne was behind. He would be behind not for anybody to know that he did it. That's who he and Lucy are. Very Christian, very warm and wholehearted. I don't even know how to explain their giving nature. They just are. They again, his mom and dad, he came from humble beginnings. I mean, he wasn't in the projects, but his dad was the coach. I used to tell people all the time, if you're between the ages of 22 and 60 and you played football in the Catholic organization in Baton Rouge, a Stabler coached you, right? So it was either Wayne Sr. or
Wow.
Wayne, and they're just giving people. And so we've been doing this thing with him now, with the restaurants that we had, and we had Stabs in Central first. He had the two little villages already, downtown and on Airline, and then we opened Palermo Restaurateur right there.
Okay, I didn't realize that was one of y'all.
That was Wayne's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we do Stabs Prime,
Okay.
which was
yeah.
the big feather in the cap as far as the fine dining in town goes.
Yes.
For us.
Yeah.
And then we get into the Sammys, and the day that we signed the donation papers from Wayne, we also signed the lease for Sammy's in Prairieville,
Oh,
because
wow.
we feel like it's a legacy that he's given us, and it's his legacy that he's given us, and so we want to make him proud, and
Absolutely.
to Coach Stabler there, we want to make sure that we win for him, and we want to make him proud. We want to make sure that he and Lucy know, and they do. We don't have to do anything. They're so comfortable in their decision to give these properties to us because they want to go. They have grandkids now. They want to move on to another section of their life. And like I said earlier, when you get into the restaurant business, it's not the hardest thing in the world. But there's no downtime.
It's so time consuming.
You're always on. I mean, when you're not there and you're not at the restaurant, it doesn't matter. You have people that are there, that are guests, that you are they're friends, and you want to make sure they have a great time. And if your parents were coming for their anniversary, and Troy called and said, "Hey, Kevin, this is my in-laws." Well, and if I'm not there, I'm still on the phone. I want to make sure things are lined up the right way for them. And then even while they're there, there's a piece of me hoping and wondering how everything's going for them. And that's just mentally, you don't ever get away from that. And so Wayne and Lucy were just ready to get away. They were like, "Hey, let's go. We can go sell these properties. We can make a ton of money. We can do whatever we want to do." But these guys that worked for us, they put in the time, and they helped us build these properties. You know what? Let's give them an opportunity to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I get
really.
chills when you say that, because it's amazing that they did that. It's just, it's almost like, in the Bible, it always, and I don't mean to say, but like it does, in the Bible, it says to give, but not to, but you don't need to like everybody know that you're giving this, or, it's like they do things at the goodness of their heart, and like giving y'all that's the goodness of their heart, doing that. It's like it's really what you're supposed to do on this earth. You know what I mean? Like, I really truly believe that. Because they can help change maybe y'all's lives.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all about changing people's lives. You know?
That's a great way to do it. And a lot of us in the restaurant business approach daily operations that way. I wake up and it's Tuesday. Do what we have to do. You go into the restaurant, so it's Tuesday night. You're getting ready for the diners and the guests that are coming in that evening. Well, that's just a Tuesday to me, right? But there's 12 tables. It's their birthday. It's their anniversary. It's their mom and dad's 50th anniversary. Mm-hmm. It's, the kid got straight A's in school. It's all these people that are in there for your plain old regular Tuesday. This is a special day for them. Even at lunchtime, it's a business deal. That's a make or break. You don't know what people have they're doing over a meal, breaking bread, wine, whatnot. That's been back to biblical times, like you said.
No,
That's
it's so
when
true.
people get together, and they get together to celebrate. So every single day, you have to reinvent yourself to be ready, so that you can be a part of someone's celebration, even if you don't even know that's their celebration. Some people are private. Some people don't want to tell you it's their birthday. They're scared you're going to come out
Sing.
clapping and singing and give them a sombrero to wear. You know what I mean? Which
you're
we
right,
have done
you're
in some places. So some people are funny about that. Or they'll say, "Oh, it's
absolutely.
my birthday, but don't do anything."
Yeah.
So you never know. You just never know. When you go by and you're taking care of somebody at the table of these guests and they have a great time and they're smiling and everything was great and you know, there's a lot of self-satisfaction there in that day. But then I tell people all the time with our business, the reason it's so difficult for so many people to do is because your victories are so short-lived. You know, you finish up at the end of the night and it was a great day and everybody had a great time. And then you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're zero again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You
Because
start over.
most people, it's your last experience, you know? And so you could have people, there are some out there that are just loyal to a fault to you and they will stay in and they'll give you a couple of things where this will miss and this will miss. And, but most people, if there's no personal connection, something's not right. They just won't go back. You know,
But there's so many things that are right. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what we strive for.
Yeah,
right?
there's so many things that,
Yeah.
and it's so like you're saying like all these people come in and it's a special occasion because some people only go to certain restaurants for those special occasions and celebrating things. So you do want everything to run right. You do want everything to be perfect, and I know that's got to be hard. It's a lot of pressure.
Yes, and you know, it's not just at the higher end restaurants. You have to remember that just because it's a restaurant that seems to be a little bit more approachable for more people, like Sammy's, let's say, doesn't mean that the people that are sitting in there aren't having their one special occasion for their night out on the year.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you
Absolutely.
can't lose that. You
Absolutely.
You have to keep that understand. And to me, that's what gives you it doesn't make you a successful restaurant guy, right? But it gives you a better opportunity to be successful if you understand that and if that's the approach. And if you can get your staff to make that approach.
Look, that's the hardest thing, I think, having your staff. Because honey got let go many times.
I don't believe that. I don't believe
She
that.
has stories.
I do. Well, you know, not the most organized girl. So, you know, just not the most organized girl. So I wasn't really good at that. You know, and I was never mean. I just wasn't really good at that. So I had to find something else. Really good at, you know, doing yogurt and things like that.
Well, I think you've done well for yourself.
Absolutely, you know. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, how has because crawfish, because we're getting ready to get some crawfish for Peanut's graduation, how has that affected like Sammy's? Because literally we get, Dad, don't we? We get our crawfish from Sammy's every single Easter. That's where we get it.
Couple sacks.
A couple sacks every Easter. And this Easter, do they still sell the sacks of crawfish?
We weren't selling any
This-
sacks live. We didn't have enough.
No, live. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
So we called and they were like, we're not selling any crawfish. I mean, like live sacks.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
that's unbelievable. So did that really hit y'all hard?
We made out better than most, I think. The
Really?
biggest
Okay.
issue was we got crawfish when we needed it,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to store it a little bit later than we liked. But when we really were ready for it, we were able to do it. Now it might be 3 sacks a day, 5 sacks a day,
Well, wow.
and the prices were astronomical.
I know.
And
but they had to be.
But I learned a long time ago in this business, you can't decide for someone else what they should pay for something. You can't sit there and go, man, that crawfish is I can't sell that crawfish for that amount. I'm just not going to do it. Because what I think is too expensive for something, someone else out there, that special occasion, whatever it is, it's
100%.
not that.
They'll do it.
So I think you price things properly and you make them available. And the public, the guests, they decide if it fits for them or if it doesn't fit for them. And if it doesn't, okay. But there are other people out there that it does. We were $12 a pound when we opened up. It was unheard of. The 3 to 5 sacks a day we were getting, we'd sell out in an hour and a half.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, of course, and you have to think about those poor crawfish farmers. I mean, they had to charge. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, of course.
You have
Yeah,
to
there's no
like
doubt.
take care of them on the other and on that side of it. That's why we were going to do the crawfish, but it was just like, well, oh well,
And then there's some people that are like, oh, well, I can't believe they're charging. So one of my favorites is that the lady called me and she says, I cannot believe you're charging $12 a pound for this crawfish. And I said, ma'am, do you really think that I'm paying $3 a pound?
100%.
And I'm making $9?
No.
I said, I'm not making anything at $12 a pound. This is a service at this point.
Absolutely.
The pricing is just that outrageous, and it's not anybody's fault.
Mm-hmm.
No one is getting rich fast on this thing. It's everybody trying to figure out how they can make a living from the fishermen, crawfish pond owners all the way up. There's, everything has just gone crazy.
That's who I think about is those poor farmers who, losing their income, supporting families. It's kind of like you want to buy the crawfish to support them, to keep it going, because, gosh, I can't even imagine.
Wayne had he had relationships going back 20, 30 years.
Wow.
And Fritz Corville, who's one of our partners now, he was doing a lot of that for Wayne and with Wayne for a long time. And about 2 weeks into it, when it was just scarce and everybody was going, oh my gosh, it's going to be $22 a pound for crawfish. And I happened to be in the room with Fritz, and he was on the phone with one of his guys, and his guy was telling him, hey, look, all of the media that's pushing out the doomsday thing, he goes, I'm not seeing that. My guys, my crops are looking like if we don't have another really hard freeze here and there, then I think we're going to end up being okay. But it's still going to take a long time to get there. And so it's finally gotten there, but we had an early Easter this year.
Yeah, we did.
And the season was just getting their legs underneath them. And so typically in this market, Easter's the end. Everybody is Good Friday and Easter Sunday, and then people move on because it's kind of summer projects. Mm-hmm. So as the crawfish got to be a little bit more plentiful and a little bit more affordable, the demand started going down too, which kind of helped everything.
Absolutely.
And we still got great sales at both locations. We still sell out almost every day that we cook them.
Are y'all
at
doing
Highland and the
sacks?
Perkins. No, we're still not doing live sacks there.
Okay, there.
Not through the Sammys. That'll be next year, hopefully.
Hopefully,
we won't have another dry season like we did last year.
I hope not.
That was a tough one.
So do y'all do any catering? Any of the, your restaurants, do they do any of the catering?
So all of the restaurants have the ability to cater. One of Wayne's other companies that I'm not involved with, I didn't manage, but my partners, Fritz and Dondi and Jeremy, they were involved with the catering part of that, Catering Cajun. And big catering jobs, someone called for Stabs Prime and said, hey, can we cater for 100 people, this and that, whatnot. A little thing here and there we can handle. But those bigger events, we have a whole catering company, and they have access to, we're all friends and we're all intertwined as Wayne's, group, right? So we still all help each other, and we'll get them. They can do almost anything on our menus when they do events, things like that. So we do a lot of catering, but not necessarily through the individual restaurants.
All right. Well, Dad, why don't you put up some of the restaurants so people can
that's
see? That's
of course. Here's the I guess the benchmark place.
Stabs Prime. That's on Jefferson Highway, and that's where I spend most of my time. That was a big visible project right there on Jefferson in the Bocage area, and I don't know. I can't speak for Wayne one way or the other because he's got a lot of affection for a lot of his different properties. But that was at the time, that was the big jump. That was the flagship pop that we did, was that steakhouse.
Right.
Wow. And that's the one In Central?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
the charming place. Look
I
at
do
it.
love it. It
You
does.
know,
It has such a New Orleans vibe.
It's all of it's the balcony and the wrought
Oh, I love
iron
that.
and the,
I do. Yeah.
Again, it's the most charming restaurant I've ever been a part of in 30 some
wow.
odd years.
Well, Troy, you're going to have to take me.
There you go.
Sorry, Troy. Little Village downtown, right? That's
So good. I've been there with friends. I think it's so good.
It's so different there. It feels to me. It feels like Frank Sinatra should be walking in any minute.
That's
It's like
why
a
I
Rat
like
Pack
it. I love
kind
it.
of a feel in there. It's the historic Crest building and.
I love the vibe.
It's
the vibe. I'll totally. I grew up going to the French Quarter with my grandfather when I was
you go.
little, and so we'd go to the piano bar at Pato's sometimes, and that is the vibe right there. And I love when I go eat. We go with my friends sometimes, and the music.
And then the Little Village on Airline, so that Hugh Freeze, my partner in the two Little Villages, that's kind of his home base. He's been at the Little Village on Airline for a long time, and a lot of people know Hugh. He's very accommodating, very approachable, very likable, social guy, and
Great
so they do a
restaurant.
great job there. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
we went. Your son waited on us.
Hudson is working
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, he waited
Yes.
on us. Me and a couple of my friends. I think Troy had to come pick us up because the martinis were too good.
Well, good
They
for
were-
you for knowing Troy needed to come pick you up.
Yeah, I was like,
So-
you need to come pick us up. So
Hudson does a great job there, and
He does.
Clayton was downtown before he went off. My youngest son,
Really?
he was waiting tables downtown at the Little Village too. So
Okay.
yeah, both of them have kind of paid a little bit of their college stuff through there.
and my
So,
niece and my nephew worked at Stamps, right? Bryson
yeah,
and Jason both
Bryson.
worked at Stamps. Yeah.
Bryson was my right hand for a long time,
He
man.
needs- he's the
super.
best.
Yeah,
He's
he
so
was great.
good.
He's
so
great.
good.
Sammy's Grill on Highland, right? We take over the
Yeah.
iconic property, and that's it's a staple in town.
It is.
It's a staple in town. So.
After I know, like my grandkids are at St. Jude, and my kids went to St. Jude, and we were always going to Sammy's, like after we were leaving Burbank or wherever for soccer.
And the new one in Prairieville. So we talked about the old location
Mm-hmm.
that was on 72. That's not ours anymore.
Yes.
We didn't take over the old Sammy's building there. We took over on Perkins Road, a place that was the Porchlight Grill, and it was Tommy's Fish House.
Tommy's Fish House, that's
Before
what I was
that,
like.
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when you're on Perkins, a lot of people in Prairieville, or a lot of people in Ascension,
Mm-hmm.
don't really know Perkins Road is in Prairieville.
I know, isn't that weird?
And a lot of people in Baton Rouge don't know Perkins Road goes into Prairieville.
I know.
So it's kind of this anomaly, you go past, Blue Bayou and past Santa Maria, and they take that big sweeping curve to the left and cross the tracks, and it's on your left.
Yeah, it's right
before
there.
you get to Airline. And everybody's like, oh, wow, yeah, right
Yeah,
here.
I didn't even know it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very proud of that one. Joey's done a fine job there, and they got a great staff, and it's been one of the best restaurant openings that I've been involved with in my career.
It's so packed.
It's been really nice.
Every time I drive by on the weekends, it is so packed.
We're only open there Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay.
Lunch and dinner.
So that must be why, because on the weekends it is.
Well, when we first opened, staffing, you said something about it earlier, right? It's difficult. It's difficult for everybody.
Oh, I know
okay?
it is. You can't control.
You
if you're-
can't find people.
If a kid's breaking up with somebody or something,
yeah,
whatever's
yeah.
going on, because they're young. They're just so young.
You just can't find them, and everybody, not in just the restaurant business, but in all businesses, it's no secret, right? It's around the whole entire country. People are having trouble finding good help, and so when we first got there, we put a crew together, and we just opened Wednesday through Sunday night. And we didn't start off opening at lunch. We didn't do to-go orders. It was limited, and then as we got our footing and we got open and got a few people through the door and things started a little momentum building, then we got enough staff hired that was trained in there, and then we started doing lunch. And we did lunch and dinner Monday through Sunday. And then, a few weeks after that, and we knew the to-go business was going to be really nice for us out there, okay?
Oh, yes.
And so then we started the to-go business. But oh my gosh, this world we live in, it's everybody wants this right now, and sometimes you have to sit back and not fall into that trap to do something the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's where we still are. And maybe one day, talks are out there between all of us. Maybe we'll go to 7 days a week, but right now, Wednesday through Sunday, all day lunch and dinner is working for us and the staff and the business model. So, we're sticking with that until we see a reason to go further with it.
Y'all are being smart about things.
Well,
you have to be.
We hope so, right?
No, you
Who
aren't.
knows?
No. Are y'all thinking about expanding any of the other restaurants, or just? I mean, I can't
We'd
even
love
imagine.
to grow it all.
It's really, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a lot. Like other places, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
We'd love to grow it all.
Yeah.
My partner's at Stabs Prime. Okay, Leo Verdi. Leo's been in the business longer than I have. Dory Mervin. Dory's been in the business longer than I have. Stabs Prime is takes a lot of our time and effort, but we feel like that's a concept that can grow too. And there's certain
Yes.
parameters and certain areas that we could go with there. David in Central at Stabs in Central. There are other thoughts and things out there. Maybe not necessarily Stabs, but maybe some things in the Central market that David
Absolutely.
can have his hands into. So that's possible growth. Hugh Freeze with the Two Little Villages. I think the Little Village is a concept that can go almost anywhere.
I do too.
And
I
so
really do.
that would be fantastic. And Sammy's, I told you the day we signed the gift from Wayne, we signed the lease for that location
That's
in
crazy.
Prairieville. So that's small of a footprint. We could take that to so many different places. So
Yeah.
smaller market areas. Stabs Prime, bigger marketplace. Okay, you look at some other big city areas for that.
That's what I thought. Bigger city.
Sammy's almost everywhere.
Oh, yeah, everybody,
Little
yeah.
village, I wouldn't be scared to put them in any town around. So
Yeah.
we just have to make sure we're operating within ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't get too excited. We have to get excited with our heads and not with our hearts necessarily. And so we're trying to stay grounded. And again, there's Wayne in that background as coach, and he's still
I love
available
that.
to us. He wants to
Oh,
be a
that's
part
so
of anything
nice.
that we want to do. He called me this morning, so it's great to have somebody like that still there in your corner. I mean, he's our biggest
Yeah.
cheerleader. He and Lucy both.
Yeah, so you can bounce things off of him. So that's really cool. So, Dad, is there anything you wanted to ask?
Yeah. I have a few questions and,
Oh, you do?
and some things to talk about. First, building on the discussion of maybe expanding the business and so forth. I'm thinking that in real estate, of course, location are the three best words to follow. It must be same in the restaurant business too. When you're going to think about a new location, it's got to be where is this going to be, where the property is going to be, does it have access, and all these other things. Is that something that I'm sure Wayne's familiar with this? And how about you?
Yeah, it's a very common thought and knowledge of everybody that gets into it, and people that aren't in it know the phrase location, right? There's another phrase, and it's from an old baseball movie, right? Build it and they will come.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, to me, it's a combination, right? The location is a dream. There's certain locations that are, wow, this is fantastic and it's perfect. And then I always believe that if you have the right people and you do your job and you stay consistent with a product that people want to come enjoy, then they will get to you. And so
Absolutely.
it's a combination of the two. Again, being from New Roads, right? I go back to the old Joe Dreyfus house. This is
wow.
years
I
ago.
haven't
It's been
been-
closed
yeah.
forever. It was right there, Livonia. And everybody in Baton Rouge had been to Joe Dreyfus.
Yep,
Do
I
you know what you had to do to go to Joe Dreyfus on a
know.
Friday night?
I know.
They didn't take reservations.
I know.
You had to drive to Livonia.
Mm-hmm.
You had to park in their gravel parking lot. They had no bar. you had to pop the trunk and have your ice chest of beers and whatnot and tailgate, if you will, to wait for your table to go in and eat at Joe Dreyfus's.
And it was so good.
It was excellent, and it was fantastic. You know?
Yeah, I remember that.
So I've never forgotten that. So it's not always location for me. It's more about the operation, and it's about the heart, and all that is around the people that you have.
Absolutely.
Because you can't do everything at all these places. You have to be able to convince the people working with you to buy into your mindset and your philosophy and your approach, and hopefully we can do some of that.
Yep, exactly. To build on the idea of the crawfish thing, I have a story from the very old days, and that is that when I was a student at LSU, we wanted to have some crawfish too, and we did boil some back in the day, and they got as low as 16 cents a pound at one point.
That's crazy.
Now, here's the deal, though. That's what I wish they were selling for when you went and bought them live. But they were only giving the fishermen 8 cents a pound. And so many of the fishermen were boating to the dock and slitting the sacks and putting the crawfish back in the stowaway because they just weren't going to give up their hard-earned effort for 8 cents a pound. So that was a crazy story, but and that's back in the 60s somewhere. Another thing I wanted to go mention was a little shout out to my dad, who passed a good long while ago. But my dad started in the restaurant business.
Oh, he did?
He only had a fourth grade education, so he was working on the farm for a while. But his first, sort of job for somebody else was in the restaurant. He was a short order cook, and then he started managing the business. And then he ended up running all of the Kentucky Fried Chickens in New Orleans for a while. And he also managed the business at the Court of Two Sisters for a while. He sounds a lot like some of the story in your background. He even ran the food concession in the Superdome for a number of years.
That's what I remember, the Superdome.
So he didn't, have the grace poured on him that you've had here just recently, but I think he had restauranting and feeding people and making a good experience in his blood, which is what you have in your blood too. So I identify with your story, hearing what my dad went through.
Because Papa was never home.
No. Well, if you're managing a restaurant, there's a lot of time when you're there and you're not home. So,
well, that there's a couple different things there, right? One. That you touched on with the not being home. Thank goodness that I had my wife Trish at home, because Trish raised our boys. I alluded to the fact that I had time at the Camelot Club to be around a little bit here and there. That was compared to the other people in the restaurant business. That wasn't compared to great all-American dad being there for carpool and volunteer this and that, whatever. I mean, it was more than 95% of my friends in the business could give to their family. So restaurant business is pretty tough on you on the family. There's no doubt, as are other professions.
Absolutely.
I mean, in this world, if you're not working hard, you better be. If you're working hard, you better be lucky, and if you're not working hard, you better be very lucky.
No.
Is kind of the way that goes. But the other thing is, you talk about your dad. I tell that to people all the time, because I get in the restaurants, people will come up and you said it earlier when we were visiting that you've worked so hard, it's so deserving. They're so deserving of this. And we get that a lot at Stabs Prime, where I'm at all the time, and it's all you and Leo and Dory, y'all have been around. Y'all work so hard, and y'all deserve this. And it's very nice to hear, but it's also very hard to hear, because there are so many people like your dad, and like Troy, like anybody around, that work extremely hard. They are very loyal, sometimes to a fault, and they give their all to what they believe in. If they are lucky enough to work for somebody or something that they believe in, they give it their all.
Absolutely.
There are so many people out there that you could deem deserving, and this stuff doesn't happen to them. So the story that I tell everyone is it's very flattering that y'all are happy for us and that we got this feeling great. But the story here is Wayne and Lucy. It's the Stabilers, and it's their generosity, and it's their, life-changing attitude of sharing what they weren't given, they worked for their whole lives.
Absolutely.
It's just so that's the thing that I don't want anybody to be lost on. As much as it is,
Indeed.
People
Indeed.
these days, some people don't even leave stuff to their own kids.
I know. I
To
know.
give it to the people that were working for you,
I know.
it's unheard of. It's just unheard of.
It is unheard of, and I think you're right. Not everybody gets what y'all were gifted, but it's so good to hear, and I think that's what people are saying. It's it's a
heartwarming story.
It is. It really is, and it's when you sit in church on Sunday and you go to mass all the time, it's not about what when you leave this earth. What have you done?
Yeah.
What have you done? Because you can't take it with you. So have you changed anybody's life? Have you done? You know what I
huge.
mean?
That's right.
That's so huge, and people need to think about that if you want to go to heaven.
A word from
I'm
Honey.
teasing. No, I'm not. But anyways, if you can do more, you should.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
Yeah, right.
but that is what when you die, what are people going to say about you?
Yeah, good things here.
You know what I mean? So this is such a heartwarming story, and I mean, it's unbelievable because unfortunately it doesn't happen very often.
No, that's correct.
And you work really hard, and just like you said that you couldn't be, you sacrificed a lot being your wife did most of the raising. It's just like my dad. My mom did most of the raising. It's just like me. I did most of the raising of the kids. I don't think Troy even knew the pediatrician's name. You know what I mean?
He told me he changed a diaper.
Yeah.
A diaper.
Yeah.
Probably,
One diaper?
maybe Peanuts, the third.
Yeah. There's a
But
pocket
again,
along.
I didn't want to bother him when he came home sometimes with that because I knew he was providing for us. So I was very grateful to have and like my dad was the same way. He provided, just like you provide for your family. So it is a sacrifice to work that hard.
Well, it's a partnership, right? And look, it doesn't always work out that way, especially in this day and age. But myself personally, and my wife were fortunate enough to come from whole households. Mom and dad had their own separate lives, and I'm sure that it was not a perfectly paved yellow brick road every day.
They never is.
And they got through it. They were fortunate enough. They stuck it out, and things worked out well.
Yeah.
And they had a great marriage, even though they were on the road all the time in different places. And so I like to think that I got some of that, and I've been fortunate to have an approach of wanting a strong family. And my wife too. My wife, her parents are 92 years old. Her dad had an accident 2 days ago. He fell because he was jogging at 6:30 in the morning. He's 92.
Well, we have a
Sounds like
story.
somebody I know.
We sound like my dad decides he's gonna bike all the time, and he's getting ready to have shoulder surgery.
God bless him. Gotta go with it,
well,
right?
he fell off his bike, so I told him, I said, "That's it. You can't ride the bike no more. You're gonna get your Peloton." My friend's dad, same thing. He rode the bike, broke
Get
the
you a
hip.
Peloton.
Yeah. So now the kids are in charge.
I assume so.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. I know, again, you're so busy. I took you away from your wife. I feel so bad, but
On
thank
his
you for
only
coming.
evening off, he's over here.
Exactly. And donating his time because no one gets paid for this. So,
Oh, this was great. I've been looking forward to it. The beginning of the segment we talked about duty, calling me Uncle Kevin, right?
Yeah.
So all of our kids, when I grew up, the background on all of that is my dad and the 7 Lejeune brothers.
Yeah.
Dad was like the 8th brother in Lena's house.
Yeah.
I know.
And he was part of the family.
Because I would always be like, well, that's Uncle Kevin. Did I miss somebody? And then they're like, dude,
Kevin,
he's like, Uncle Kevin.
I grew up with Uncle Black and Uncle Lop and
I
Uncle
love it.
Tippy and Uncle Nookie and that was it.
I know.
That's how I grew up, and I'm 56 years old. So my kids grew up with Uncle Troy and Uncle Todd.
Yeah,
It's just the way it is, and
I love that.
We're still back at that same deer lease on that same deer camp that my dad was on. It's been over 50 years. It's
amazing.
I don't think any of us would trade it for the world. It's
Nope.
one of the best things that you could ever have outside of work and family life, to have something like that. And I say it all the time, the Lejeunes, it's like another extension of my family. I mean, they are family.
Yeah, well, that's what Duty says. You are.
Yeah, there's no
family.
doubt.
Hudson's his cousin, and Clayton's the cousin. So
No
it's
doubt.
like, okay.
No
I
doubt.
said, but I did for a while there. I was like, oh gosh, who did I miss? And then Troy would explain it to me, and I was like, because there's so many Lejeunes.
Yeah.
There are a few.
There's a few. So
Honey, I have a question.
okay, you have
I
a
want to ask
question.
Kevin. So, you've been in the business for a long time. You've met
150 years, I
You've
think.
met a lot of people being in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
Can you rattle off some of the famous people that you met that are here within the through your career? I'll just be curious. I mean, I know you mentioned it before. Just off the top, who are some of the top people that you've met
Putting you on
coming
the
in the
spot.
restaurants? I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, the one in Baton Rouge, that's number one. That's the most recognized human on the planet is Shaquille. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Shaq
you met
and
him.
There.
Oh, that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. That goes even back before the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Business.
Does he have to duck to get in?
Yes, almost everywhere. Yeah, almost everywhere.
Oh, wow.
We just I've got it's kind of neat, but I've got some pictures with a lot of different celebrities.
I can't even
Big Shot
imagine.
Bob came into TJ Ribs one day. That Robert Horry. I mean, Robert Horry hit more big shots in the NBA than so many people. Romanowski and the local LSU and Saint celebrities. Gosh, there's so many of them to even name, and all the way back to Ruth Chris. I remember when I met the famous basketball coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and you know what I remember in those days?
Ludos?
This is the late Ludos. This is the late '80s. Used to come in all the time were all the WWE guys.
Ah,
The
wrestling.
Junkyard Dog and
No
Ted
way.
DiBiase and yeah. So that was like my first starstruck. Were all the wrestling guys.
Yeah. Real
The
superheroes.
Chic, the guy that managed them all. I mean, it was So I go back way on back in that day. So there's so many. Johnny Damon was just in last night at Prime, and we've had. It's pretty cool and it's pretty neat, but I don't do a whole lot of going in and meeting them. There's some guys that are comfortable doing that. I'm kind of not. I'm a little bit more, hey, stand off. No, y'all don't. Nobody gets autographs, that kind of stuff. And because I want them when they're in our place to enjoy their time. Now, if they reach out, Johnny Damon last night was very open and welcoming and would ask you want to get a picture or this, engaging. When they're that way, then absolutely it's fantastic. But a lot of times they aren't. A lot of times, it's Nick Saban when he was at LSU. Nick would go out to dinner twice a year, maybe. And Miss Terry would call me and she'd say, Kevin, look, Nick and I are going to have a date. We're going to go out to eat, slip them in the back door, slip them in the back corner.
Yeah.
They don't want, they don't want anything. No, I didn't take pictures with Nick Saban for the first, a year and a half that I knew him. I never would ask. Miss Terry asked me, you want to take a picture with Nick? Yeah, absolutely.
Because you want them to have a good experience and not be bothered.
You do, but I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, Shaquille O'Neal is it.
For sure.
That is so cool, though. That is the cool side of it.
Yeah, it
getting
is.
to meet
It
all
is
the
pretty awesome.
Great question. I love that question. That was good.
Well, my only question or comment is, Kevin, you talked about possibility of maybe one day expanding, or and it's all about the location, the need, or the fit. And I have one suggestion. I have a fit for you, and y'all need to put a small
he always
Prairie
says
View by us. By us, not where it's at, but there's another location you should put one out there.
On 73, he wants a
73.
restaurant on Highway
That we need,
73,
so.
and he always
I
says
have another little concept that we're talking about. So you never know.
Okay, well, good, because
Yeah.
he says it all the. I need to call Kevin, and we need to put a restaurant. He needs to put a restaurant. You need to put a restaurant, not him. You need to put a restaurant on 73.
Right.
All I need is some money.
I know.
All you need. That's all you need.
Oh gosh, well, thank you so
again,
much.
Kevin. It's
Oh,
been
thank you all for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Great, great
a
stuff.
great
Absolutely.
story and heartwarming, and it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us. Well, honey, what we got going on next week?
It's going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise to whom? To our viewers or
To our
us?
viewers.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
And
So,
maybe us too. I have stuff up my sleeve all the time.
okay. So we won't mention the surprise just yet. So all y'all view in and tune up next week, Wednesday night, 7:00 on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. We love y'all. Thanks for being here tonight, and God bless.
Thank you.